the end of the multi-currency regime in Zimbabwe and the adoption of a mono-currency regime in favor of a domestic currency. What was happening in the market is that the market was self-US dollarizing. It was uncontrollable, and we felt that we needed to bring the situation under control. A few days ago, I had a meeting with the Association of Teachers in this country as a union, along with His Excellency as well as other ministers. And they made it very clear to us that the multi-currency regime has become a US dollar regime. They don't earn US dollars. They can't afford to buy things in the shops. They can't pay for medicines and healthcare services, where the hospitals and clinics are demanding US dollars. Quite clearly, it became an untenable situation. It became necessary for government to move a lot faster and introduce a mono-currency regime with a domestic currency. The domestic currency obviously comprises our RTGS dollar, as before, as well as the bond note and bond coins as before. So nothing has changed really in terms of what we're calling domestic currency on this occasion. All that has changed is that the only legal tender domestic at the moment is now the domestic currency and not foreign currency of the US dollar. What does this mean? It means that anyone who wants to buy goods from a shop, they pay for services within the borders of Zimbabwe, ought to go to a bank, or exchange or some other institution to change their foreign currency into domestic currency and spend that whichever way they wish to spend. That's what normal countries do. That's what all countries do. If you go to South Africa, you cannot buy in US dollars in the shops. You go to Zambia, you cannot buy in US dollars in the shops. You go to Mozambique, you say those who are going to be paying for airline services in the form of air tickets will still be allowed to pay in foreign currency, or in the currency in which the airline wishes you to pay, because we are treating that as a foreign payment. Equally, those who are importing luxury goods, especially cars, as before, nothing has changed, because in a sense it's a foreign payment. You're bringing a good into the country. It cannot come in without that payment in the form of import duty. Once again, you pay in the currency in which it was acquired, or in foreign currency. So nothing changes in this regard. Period. The current account ballooned to as much as high as 14% of GDP. Why? When you've got a strong currency like the US dollar, the propensity to import increases. The demand for imports goes up. At the same time, the US dollar is not good for competitiveness. It can stabilize prices for sure, but it's not good for competitiveness. You end up deindustrializing because industry just cannot compete. Most people don't realize that what saved industry was really the ban on certain imports, mainly from the region. That's what saved industry within an environment of the use of the US dollar. But that is also slightly abnormal, but that's what happened. So this move in adopting a formal domestic currency as the sole legal tender within our borders, it gets Zimbabwe closer to normalcy, if not restoration of normalcy. I want to be clear on the holding or possession of US dollars. If you have US dollars in your person, on your person rather, in the bank account, in a foreign currency account, nostro account, it's your money. You can keep it there, do whatever you like with it. Except that if you want to go into a shop within Zimbabwe, you have to change it into domestic currency and then be able to transact. There's another reason why perhaps it's important for us to do what we did. There are a lot of ordinary people in the rural areas who are suffering under the weight of, they're looking at the impact of the cyclone, the impact of the drought, the reform agenda itself, high inflation and so forth. And clearly there's been a call from them to say, look, we cannot afford this self-US dollarizing economy what we need is our own currency. And also, the currency is a source of pride.